I remember just before my first year in college, the summer, when I was about to head into college, I got a phone call from my brother one evening who was still in high school. And he let me know that one of our friends on the first day of school was in the gym and he was shot. And he was no longer with us. And what do you think would happen? Laws change maybe? No. The gun culture in the United States is really just a way of life. It's kind of expected that that's going to happen. And since that time, we've had school shootings in Parkland, in Uvalde, in Sandy Hook. And these are all children that are taken from us and nothing happens. Now, in the UK, something did happen. They did make changes. I'm going to watch a video today that's going to talk about it. And it's called How One Mass Shooting Changed the UK's Gun Laws Forever. And this is by Attention. I will have a link down below so you can head over to their channel. So, you know, you think that there must be school shootings like everywhere, but that's not really the case. And it happened in the UK and they did something about it. So I'm super curious to know like why, what happened. So before we get going here, go ahead and like the video. Let's see what we can see.
People are getting shot all around me.
Hundreds of students ran for their lives.
We didn't think this would ever happen.
The shooting at an elementary school in Newtown, Virginia Tech.
Parkland, Columbine High School.
A total of 15 people.
33 dead.
20 children, 7 adults.
More than 240,000 US students have experienced gun violence at school since Columbine in 1999. But in the UK, it's a different story. Private ownership of all handguns and semi-automatic rifles is banned, a concept unimaginable in America. But how have these two inextricably linked nations ended up with such vastly different attitudes on guns? And how did this massive change in the UK even happen? To understand, we have to go back to 1996, when the Dunblane massacre changed everything.
Grief, shock and disbelief in the Scottish town of Dunblane.
A former scout leader with a grudge.
It is a tragedy without precedent.
16 tiny children died right here at Dunblane Primary School. The massacre, carried out by a man who had licenses for his guns, was enough to change the UK's gun laws forever. What's truly
that is amazing. It sounds to me it was just one time. It just took one time for them to do something about it. So, I mean, one of the problems they have in the US is that there's a lot of money in it. And you have the NRA, who is a huge donor to politicians, and they have a lot of clout and pull. And, I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot. That's just one thing, one element of it, but there's a lot more than that. It's not necessarily, you might think it's all about the money, which a huge part of it is, but there's a lot of people who don't want you to do anything, like not one sensible thing, because they believe that if they let you do that one thing, it's going to lead to a bunch of other things like taking their guns and all of that. So they'd rather pray about it, that something's going to change.
For his guns was enough to change the UK's gun laws forever. What's truly amazing is that by the end of the next year, it became illegal to own a handgun in the UK. But how did the UK get to that point so fast? It was mainly due to the activism from those personally affected by the attack.
My daughter Sophie was one of the 16 young children who were shot dead at Dunblane Primary School. She and I were on our own. She was my only child.
Dr. Mick North was an academic before the shooting, but after, he found it impossible to return to that life. So he devoted himself to making sure other parents never had to experience his agony by becoming a gun control activist. Hi.
One of my initial reactions after Dunblane was a feeling that this should never have happened because the guns that the perpetrator used have been too easy to come by.
Dr. North combined forces with other people who were touched by Dunblane, like former Scottish Labour MP Richard Simpson. Now, he was a doctor at the local hospital at the time, but then after that experience, he changed his entire career, became a Labour MP, and helped to lead the motion to change the gun laws in the UK.
What I discovered was that the then Conservative government was in the process of actually seeking to deregulate the process by which guns were regulated in the United Kingdom. And that really made me very annoyed.
These two men were part of a movement fighting to be heard by politicians. Residents of Dunblane and relatives of victims started speaking out and organising public relations campaigns and creating petitions.
Man, it's so... I mean, this happens in the U.S. Well, I mean, obviously, when people lose their family members, their little children, and they're outraged. And they fight. But I wonder what the difference is. I mean, I know I don't know, man. This is a interesting, not interesting. It's just a hard topic to discuss. It's probably a good way to put it. Let me just keep going.
Speaking out and organising public relations campaigns and creating petitions.
Politicians weren't necessarily used to hearing from the victims of shooting incidents.
Everyone who says, I enjoy the sport, I want to hold the gun in my hand and have the live ammunition. What I say is, you have those emotions for enjoying your sport, but feel the emotions of a parent who is never going to see their child again.
There was a massive groundswell.
Man, there's so much to say here. So I would say that people in the U.S. it's a little bit different. It's about sport, but it's all about like the government. Like it's their protection against the government. It doesn't seem like she said that. It doesn't mean that isn't the case, but that's not what they've said so far here. And so for them, they believe that that's their last protection against some tyrannical government that's going to come in and take over their neighborhood or, whatever. That's their form of protection. And then, as it relates to what she said about, no one should feel this way, or, those kind of things, like they wouldn't disagree, but they wouldn't blame it on the guns. They would blame it on something else, like the person who had the guns or their mental health or something like that. And then they won't even do anything about that. So it's just crazy, isn't it?
Never going to see their child again.
There was a massive groundswell, a bit like the climate extinction movement now. It wasn't highly coordinated or paid for.
So we had a petition called the Snowdrop Petition, which was getting the public to sign up for a ban on handguns, eventually gaining over 700,000 signatures. Within 2 years, a total ban on handguns had been introduced in this country.
By 1999, over 165,000 guns and over 700 tons of ammo had been surrendered.
There was a lot of opposition to it, and it was suggested that it would actually badly affect people who used guns for sport, but it hasn't done so.
What we did was a major achievement, and I'm very satisfied with what we were able to do.
Dunblane happened. The gun laws were overhauled. Before Columbine even happened, 2 years earlier, it's like the precedent was set. We knew what was starting to happen across the world.
And 2 years later, on April 20th, 1999, 2 teenagers shot and killed 12 fellow students and a teacher at Columbine High School near Denver, Colorado.
Oh, wow. So that was after Dunblane. I didn't know that. I mean, I guess I didn't put 2 and 2 together in the years, but oh, wow.
Just like Dunblane did in the UK, Columbine shocked Americans. It wasn't the first school shooting in the US, but those images captured on live TV set something off that had ripple effects throughout the country. And just like in Dunblane, no one was closer to the situation than the victims' parents.
I'm the father of Daniel Mauser. He was one of the students killed at Columbine High School. He was 15 years old.
Like Mick North before him, Tom devoted his life to fighting for gun control, even taking a year off from work to lobby at the state capitol.
Just 2 weeks before Columbine, at the dinner table, Daniel asked me a question based on a conversation that he had with other members of the debate team. He said, "Dad, did you know there were loopholes in the Brady Bill?" Brady Bill is a national law that requires background checks to purchase a gun. And I just kind of blew it off. He was then killed with a gun that was purchased through a loophole in the Brady Bill. I mean,
man, and the Brady Bill, by the way, I think it was implemented when Reagan was shot, which was, I believe, 1981 or something like that. And it took like 12 years before that bill came into law. And this is the president of the United States was shot. You would think like in the year they would have a new law, but it took 12 years for that law to be in effect.
How could I not act on that? To me, that was very prophetic. And it made me realize that when we have loopholes like that, when we have so much carnage in this country, we have to do something about it. I became very vocal, active.
And Tom did make some very real progress on a state level soon after, helping to introduce a bill to close the same gun show loophole he and Daniel had discussed over dinner. In 2000, the public voted and passed Colorado's answer to the Brady Bill by an overwhelming majority of about 70%.
I felt that.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I stand corrected on that. So there was something that was done, although it's in Colorado, which is a very liberal state, but something was done, which is good.
By an overwhelming majority of about 70%.
I felt that I did something to honor Daniel. I did something in response to something he brought up to me.
But this small victory at the state level in Colorado was overshadowed by strong national backlash against gun safety laws. Barely a year after Columbine, then NRA President Charlton Heston gave this famous threat.
From my cold, dead hands.
In America, we are so wrapped up in individualism and rights that we say, well, no, we can't do that because it might possibly affect my rights. And for a lot of people, that's more important than what could possibly happen to them or their neighbors. It's a cultural issue that is very starkly different between us and other nations. I think it's shameful in the US that we have failed to really react in any significant way.
Since Columbine, the narrative in the US around gun rights and gun control has only become more polarizing.
Restricting law-abiding Americans from acquiring guns is obviously unconstitutional.
Is it time to repeal the Second Amendment?
The left has their rigid, radical, anti-gun agenda.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47.
In the US, barely any federal gun control laws have passed since Columbine. In fact, experts say the most significant change in gun law is when politicians let a Clinton-era assault weapons ban expire in 2004, making assault weapons like AR-15s legal again. Since then, the AR-15 has been used in almost every notable mass shooting in America. And the problem continues to get worse. The US has more firearms per person than any other country in the world. And it's...
You know, it's true. One of the there's so many things. I think just over the weekend, there was a shooting at an In-N-Out in Idaho, I believe it was, or Iowa, I can't remember. And here's what happens. There was someone who had a gun who shot the person who was doing the shooting. And so even though it was bad, I think 3 people were unalived. Got to be careful how you say words here on YouTube. But so that it was bad, but the rallying cry will be a good guy with the gun stopped the bad guy with the gun. And if it wasn't for that person, the good guy, then this is me doing quotes, the good guy, then that more people would have been taken from the earth. So, yeah, I mean, and then you'll have millions of people who get behind that, and then that's how it works. The next thing you know, no one does anything about it because it becomes super controversial, and then you have another shooting. Same thing happens. Everybody gets all fired up, worked up. Nothing happens because by the time something comes around to happening, like you forgot even what happened. You just know that it's about guns. So, man, that's so messed up over there.
The US has more firearms per person than any other country in the world. And it's the only country in the world that has more guns than people.
Oh my
and
God.
the US gun homicide rate is 25 times that of other high-income countries, including the UK.
The main problem is not necessarily the Second Amendment, but how that has been interpreted.
Right.
In America, there needs to be an understanding of how to tighten the law without grossly infringing on what are perceived of as rights under the Second Amendment.
But it does seem ridiculous to use the words of the Founding Fathers to decide how you control or don't control weapons that are usually used in war zones.
Right.
There have been so many mass shootings since Columbine that many Americans feel hopeless about reform. The fact remains, however, that 61% of Americans do support stricter gun laws.
Right.
And there are many potential changes, such as closing the gun show loophole or restricting assault weapons, that would make a huge impact and would not go as far as a total ban on firearms.
It takes a long time sometimes. It's not just changing the laws. You also have to change culture to get people to be willing to change the laws.
Right.
And perhaps there'll come a time when enough people vote in politicians who will be supportive of the gun control measures that America needs and deserves.
No one has kids.
I mean, yeah. But man, that's a lot of people you have to vote in. That's a lot. It's not just the president. I mean, it is a lot of people that you have to vote in, which means it's going to take, obviously, even more U.S. citizens to be opposed to it. And, you know, oh, man, it's just, I've given up hope that it's ever going to change. It will never change in the United States. Call me a Debbie Downer or whatever you want to call it, but I just don't see it, because I've seen some horrendous stuff happen that you would think would be enough for people to do something about it, but they don't. So that just tells me it doesn't matter what happens, it is not going to change, because there are too many people who like it that way, because it's a culture thing all over the TV, everything. I mean, it's like in the United States, there's a sense of power and control and everything when you have a gun. You see it on TV, you see it in movies, TV shows, news. So, you know, I think there's a lot of people on, doesn't matter what side of the political aisle they're on, they don't want to see it go away, really, even if it impacts them. Sometimes when it impacts them and somebody they know, they'll just say that, you know, something like it's the Lord's will or something. That's how it was supposed to be. Oh, man.
Of the gun control measures that America needs and deserves.
No one has kids so they can buy them bulletproof backpacks. You have kids so that they can hopefully thrive in a better world than you did. We really have to ask ourselves if we're giving them that opportunity.
Oh, boy. I mean, someone recommended that or watched that, you know, that video there, which, you know, on this channel, I'm usually all happy and everything like that. I'm not like sad or anything like that. And I'm not super angry as I have been before about this issue, you know, but it's obviously a little more serious. But I can tell you one thing for sure. Being here in Spain or Europe, I would say just being in Europe, but then somebody in the comments would be like, well, Europe is made up of a bunch of different countries. Anyway, but being here in Spain, I mean, the feeling is just so different of not having to worry about gun violence. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a bunch of other things you got to worry about, but gun violence is not one of them, because in the United States, most of the things I have to worry about here, I got to worry about over there, plus gun violence. So, and I've had personal experience. I have a lot of stories about friends. I mean, I grew up in North Las Vegas, which was a pretty tough neighborhood. So I had a lot of friends who shot the guns and shot people who were shot, family members, all that. I mean, I'm just fortunate enough that my mother it was none of that going on in my household. But that doesn't mean I didn't have friends that I rode the bus with and everything who were impacted by gun violence and, school gun violence. So I have a different perspective than a lot of people in the United States, really. I remember going to college and having conversations with people who just didn't get it. Like, they didn't understand why people were in gangs and this and that. Like, it didn't make sense to them. But I just had a perspective of my next door neighbor telling me stories and seeing things happen and being and hearing gunshots around the corner and people screaming because they were shot. I mean, wow. Anyway, I obviously think that something should be done about guns, but unfortunately, guns in the US, but unfortunately, I just don't think it ever will be. It would take a major shift culturally for it to happen, and I don't see it happening. In fact, I think it's getting worse. All right. I mean, that's probably a little deep video. But hey, this is what it is, right? It's a part of being somebody from the United States and now living here in Europe. So hopefully you liked that video. If you did and you want to see more reactions just like that one or similar anyway, then subscribe to the channel, man. It's easy and it's free. My name is Greg. I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.